Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is November 3rd, and the Texas Rangers are your 2023 World Series champions. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? The baseball season is over. All games have been played, and we have nothing left to do in terms of the actual baseball scene and watching baseball games. It is over. The Texas Rangers are your 2023 World Series champions. It's their first time in the franchise's history that they have won it all. They have done it. Texas Rangers, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to them. So we got a lot to do in today's episode, going over kind of Texas' journey here, where they came from, how'd they get here. Obviously, we'll take a look at all three games, even though if you've watched the games, you know the outcomes of them, but we'll still do it anyways. But yeah, just want to shout out the Texas Rangers. I mean, we're going to go through their team in a little bit, but yeah, big congrats to them. Their first franchise history, their first Commissioner's Cup, their first win. Good for Bochy, good for Seager. We'll go into all of that. So let's get things started by talking about the Washington Senators, who, if you don't know, were the Texas Rangers before there was a Texas Rangers. The Washington Senators baseball team was created in 1961. They then switched their name over to the Texas Rangers, relocated in 1972. So if you were a Washington Senators fan from 1961, you had to wait 62 years for this first World Series win, and it's been 51 years that you'd had to wait if you were a Texas Rangers fan when they rebranded in 1972. So it has been a long time for the Texas Rangers as well as the Washington Senators. In their franchise's history, there had been 9 trips to the postseason. This was their 9th trip. And their 3rd time to the World Series. The last time they were in the World Series was their back-to-back years and the back-to-back losses in 2010 and 2011. Obviously losing to the San Francisco Giants and then the Cardinals, which people remember more for the David Freese game in Game 6, where he hit the game-tying triple down to their last strike. And then in extras in the 11th, Freese hit it into center to walk off the Rangers. We would have a Game 7 in which Texas would lose. Their first time ever in the postseason was in 1996, so a few years between 1996 and 1961 when the team was created. Obviously, their more recent postseason entries was in 2015 and 2016, where they were knocked out both times by the Blue Jays in the division series. In 2015, they were actually up 2-0 in that series, and then the Blue Jays won 3 straight games, including the Bautista bat flip home run. And then in 2016, they were swept by the Blue Jays after being the best team in the league. The Blue Jays won the wild card game, came to Arlington, took the first 2 games, and then won Game 3 at home. The Rangers had not been to the postseason since then. In 2021, they had a 100-loss season, and then 2 years later, here they are in the postseason, winning their first World Series. So it's been a long time for the Rangers, but they have finally done it, and they have won the World Series. All right, now let's start talking about the game, starting with Game 3. We head into Arizona, the desert, Chase Field. Series tied up 1-1, and it's Brennan Pfaadt versus Max Scherzer. And the first big thing to happen in this game might have been the most important. A leadoff double by Christian Walker had him at second, and then Pham got a base hit to right field. But the Diamondbacks third base coach was waving Walker around, but in the last moment held up the stop sign. But by that point, Walker had his head down, sprinting home. Garcia throws a bullet to the plate to nab Walker by a few feet and save a run for the Rangers. So a big blunder there. The Diamondbacks could have had runners at the corners, no outs, and instead runner at first, 1 out, and no run to show for it. Top 3 now with 2 outs. Lau on third. Simeon up. He hits one to Shell left. That would get down and score the first run in this game. And after the Simeon hit, the first pitch swinging is Corey Seager, and he crushes the ball deep to right field. A 2-run home run. It gets the Rangers up now 3-0 in the third. All of that came with 2 outs. Going back to the bottom of the second, Max Scherzer to end it was hit in the elbow and the back with a comebacker. Young made a nice play to end it, but he stayed in. He pitches the third inning, but when coming back out for the fourth while warming up, everyone could tell something was wrong. He was in pain. He was in discomfort, and Bochy had to do what he had to do. He pulls him after 3 innings with the injury. And then John Gray, who before tonight's game was announced as the Game 4 starter, he is now in this game, in Game 3, replacing Scherzer. So, John Gray, from thinking he's pitching tomorrow to pitching today on the day of, is a big difference for him, but he pitched very well. We are now going to jump to the 8th inning, as it was pretty much just pitching and defense in the middle of this one. And we end it in the 8th inning. Adolis Garcia flies out to center field, but was holding his back as he slowly jogged to first. He was also removed from this game and left with an injury, which brings us now to the bottom of the 8th. And Aroldis Chapman comes into the game and is greeted not nicely by Emmanuel Rivera, who hits a double down the right field line, and then Perdomo with a broken bat bloop base hit to left field. That scores the first Diamondbacks run in this one, 3-1 Snakes. But Chapman recovers. He strikes out Carroll. He gets Marte to bounce into the ending double play, and then Leclerc would come in to the bottom of the 9th and finish the job as Texas takes Game 3 on the road, as they still haven't lost on the road, and they take a 2-1 series lead, being the Diamondbacks 3-1. Brandon Pfaadt, he was okay, but not exactly what they needed. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. Obviously, if he didn't give up the homer to Seager, it'd be a little bit different. Scherzer went 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout. And how about John Gray coming into this one? 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, and 3 Ks. Especially when you were thinking you were going to pitch on the next day and you're pitching today, all of a sudden it's a tricky thing to do for some starters, but Gray did a very good job going 3 innings, only allowing the 1 hit. Ahead of Game 4 now, questions were being asked about Garcia and Scherzer, and both of them have been ruled out of the World Series, both being replaced. Ezekiel Duran comes in now to the roster, for Garcia, and then Brock Berkey replaced Max Scherzer. If the series were still going on and we're talking about, Game 6 and Game 7 coming up, obviously this would be a huge talking point because, Garcia was a huge part of the Texas roster, or the Texas lineup. El Bombe was doing great. And Max Scherzer, if we ended up going to Game 7, that would have been Scherzer's spot to pitch. So a lot could have happened. Obviously, we know Texas wins the World Series and these injuries don't come back to haunt them. But when this was happening live, and we're talking about going back to Monday now, Tuesday, I'm thinking to myself, Texas, you won Game 3, but at what cost? Because that could have been huge for the Diamondbacks. It ends up not being a big deal, but they do, both of them, not pitch in the next 2 games here, Garcia being the one who actually would have played, Scherzer wouldn't have. But we jump now to Game 4. And with Gray no longer being available, the Texas Rangers send out Andrew Heaney while the Diamondbacks go to a bullpen game, and starting it off would be Joe Mantiply. Ketel Marte, he leads this one off with a base hit, and that extends his streak already to 20 as he gets his hit early in this one. But the first run of the day would come to the Texas Rangers in the second as a double by Josh Young, and he eventually moves over to third. A ball gets thrown into the dirt. It gets away from Moreno, which allows Young to score on a passed ball. That makes it 1-0 Rangers, and that was with 2 outs, and then it didn't end there. Still with 2 outs, Castro then walks Leody Taveras, the 8-hitter, then gives up a hit to Travis Jankowski, who's playing right field in replacement of Avidilis Garcia, batting 9th. And then Semien hits one down to left field line. That goes deep and rolls into the corner. 2 runners score, and Semien gets to third for a triple. That makes it 3-0 Texas. And then the next batter is Corey Seager, and he swings and hits one to deep right center, and gone. Seager has done it again. A 2-run shot makes it 5-0, all with 2 outs here in the second inning. Back-to-back days for Corey Seager with a home run. Now onto the top of the third with 2 on and 1 out. Jonah Heim hits one to Walker, but he bobbles it trying to throw it to second and then drops the ball. So a mistake by the Gold Glover, and that loads the bases with 1 out. Taveras then strikes out, so there's 1 out away from getting out of it. Jankowski coming up, but he drills one to center. That gets down. 2 runners score on the double from Jankowski. That makes it 7-0. And then the next batter, Marcus Semien, he crushes one to left field and deep, and goodbye. A 3-run home run for Semien. It's 10-0 Rangers after 3 innings. In the bottom of the fourth with 2 on, Gurriel hits one to right field. That would be a sac fly as the D-backs get on the board. 10-1. Then after that, we have the classic MLB moment, the stand up to cancer. I love this moment. It's always great seeing it on TV. It's just a beautiful moment. All teams coming together, doesn't matter who you are. This is something that affects everybody. Wanted to throw that in there, so always love seeing that in the World Series. We would stay scoreless now until the 8th, where Jonah Heim shoots one down the right field line. That would get up and out of here. Goodbye. A solo shot for Heim, his first hit of the World Series. That makes it 11-1. Bottom of the 8th, the D-backs get 3 straight singles to load the bases with 1 out. Pham ends up with a sac fly to bring in another, but then it's Lourdes Gurriel with 2 outs. He swings at a high pitch, and that one goes deep to left field and would leave the yard. A 3-run shot for Gurriel. The D-backs are trying to make this one interesting. All of a sudden, it's 11-5. The D-backs would start the 9th now with a walk and a base hit to have runners on the corners, no outs, with the top of the order coming up, but it's back-to-back Ks that would end the hope if there was any left over. Moreno, though, hits one up the middle. That scores the 2 runners. That makes it 11-7, but that's how this one would end as the Rangers stay undefeated on the road and move 1 win away from their first World Series as they win it 11-7. Andrew Heaney was great. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 3 Ks. And how about Ryan Nelson for the Diamondbacks? He came in to start the 4th inning after it was already 10-0, and he stayed until there was 1 out in the 9th. He was pitching great. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 6 Ks, and that only earned run was on the high home run. He basically came in and shut down that Texas lineup. Unfortunately, it was too little too late as 10 runs, 5 runs in the second and 5 runs in the third. Texas has a 3-1 series lead and are 1 win away as we head to Game 5. But before that, I want to mention Game 1 quickly, because we're talking about Texas here coming in and is ready now 1 win away. If Paul Sewell doesn't give up that home run to Seager, if the Diamondbacks close out Game 1, it would have been a 2-0 Diamondbacks lead heading home. They would have dropped these first 2 games, but guess what? That only makes Game 5 more interesting because it'd be a 2-2 series and not a 3-1 series. So that Game 1 does loom large in this series, and of course we know what happens here in Game 5. But we're going to talk about it regardless. Game 5 of the World Series. And we have the rematch of Game 1, Nathan Eovaldi for the Rangers and Zach Gallen for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks in the first 3 innings would get their leadoff guy on base all 3 times. They would have 2 innings with a runner on third, but could not score as Eovaldi kept escaping jams. Meanwhile, Gallen has gone 12 up and 12 down through the first 4 innings. Both starters looking great. With 2 outs in the 5th inning, the Rangers finally get their first base runner as Nathaniel Lau would walk, but nothing would come up from that. Bottom 5, the bases are loaded, 2 outs, and once again, with the help of the defense, Eovaldi escapes out of it without giving up a run. Gallen has gone through 6 hitless innings, and he is having the best start of the postseason by far as we head into the last third of this game. Still scoreless, and Eovaldi has his first 1-2-3 inning of the game in the 6th inning, which would be his last inning, and it was a great game for him. Corey Seager leads off the 7th with an excuse me base hit to left field with no one there to make the play as they were shifted. That ends the no-hitter, so 6 no-hit innings from Gallen. The next batter is Evan Carter. He doubles one to right field. So after those 6 no-hit innings, the Rangers have runners on second and third, no outs to begin the 7th. Next batter, Mitch Garver, he singles one up the middle. That scores the first run of this game as Seager comes home to make it 1-0 Texas. Gallen would come back by striking out Young, and that would end his night as Kevin Ginkel comes in, gets Lau to ground one to Walker, who throws home to get Carter caught in a rundown. Meanwhile, Lau isn't running to first, but he eventually would, and Carter would get tagged out. Lau was claiming it was foul, but it wasn't called, nor is it a reviewable play, so it ends up being a fielder's choice as Carter gets tagged out. Lau gets to first, and then Heim would pop up anyways in foul territory. That ends the inning, so only the 1 run scores. Next inning, Garver would come back up with 2 outs and the bases loaded, trying to add on, but Ginkel gets him to break his bat on the swing. Perdomo makes a nice play, and that would end it as Ginkel escapes a jam there. In the 9th now, Young with a leadoff hit, and then Lau follows that with a hit of his own to get 2 on to start the 9th inning. Heim hits one through the infield, and then it's the worst case scenario. Alec Thomas, who is trying to take a looped route to the ball, has the ball go straight through him as he misses it. It rolls past him and gets to the wall. The 2 runners come to score. Heim gets to third on the error, and it's 3-0 Texas. Can you feel it? They would get the next 2 outs, but then Simeon would come to the plate, and he hits one high and deep to left field, and that one is gone. A 2-run home run, basically cementing it for the Rangers as they have added 4 runs in the 9th and made it a 5-0 game. The Diamondbacks are down to their last 3 outs, and they go in order. The Rangers do it. They win their first World Series in franchise history as they beat the D-backs in 5 games, and they win it 5-0. Eovaldi, the escape artist, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, 5 walks, but 5 Ks. So not the prettiest of games for Eovaldi, but all that mattered with that 0 earned run. Zach Gallen, 6 no-hit innings, amazing job. In total, he went 6 1/3, 3 hits, the 1 earned run, the 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. That would do it, but the Rangers have won the World Series. They win. They take the 3 games on the road, and they go to 11-0 on the road this postseason. They did not lose an away game. Very impressive stuff from the Texas Rangers. Also in this game, Ketel Marte's streak ends at 20 as he would go 0 for 2 with 3 walks in the game. So that ends Marte's streak there. And speaking of Marte, how about them Snakes in general? I mean, it was a tough World Series. Nobody had any expectations for them. So for the Diamondbacks to do what they did, I mean, it was quite the journey. They had to sweep the Brewers. They then swept the Dodgers and then battled back at Citizens Bank Park after, falling down 3-2 against the Phillies. They won 2 games on the road at the bank. The first 2 times the Phillies lost there this season, and made it all the way to the World Series, a run that nobody thought was possible. You look at all of those 15 NL teams, not many people had the Diamondbacks in the favorites, let alone actually going to the World Series and winning a game. So big round of applause for that team, the way they've come about. Gurriel, Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, an all-star this year. How about the veteran Evan Longoria? Who knows if this is his last season? Gabriel Moreno, the pitching, Gallen, Brandon Pfaadt, what a postseason he had. Merrill Kelly has become, in my mind, a dominant, clutch pitcher sometimes. That bullpen, I got to know the names of Ryan Thompson and Kevin Ginkel, Paul Sewald. How about Kevin Ginkel, though? 10 games in the postseason, 11 2/3 innings pitched, 1-0 record, only gave up 8 hits, 5 walks, 15 strikeouts, and how about no runs, 0.0 ERA. What a job by Ginkel. Definitely learned his name this postseason. Just a round of applause to Diamondbacks making it as far as they did. Obviously, not the ending they would wanted. Torey Lovullo, in his press conference after Game 5, you could see the distraught on his face. Very unhappy manager. He had a quote of just wanting to go camping for a few days and eat ice cream, and was very upset about it, which is understandable. It's always hard when you make it this far and you get nothing to show for it. But the Diamondbacks, in my mind, should have their heads held high. They had a quite tremendous season, and I think they have a big off-season inbound for them because they definitely can cement themselves with a couple of nice moves as a top team in the NL with all of that young talent that they have. All right, let's talk about Corey Seager, who is your 2023 World Series MVP. It's the second time he's won this award as he becomes the 4th player in MLB history to win 2 World Series MVPs, joining Bob Gibson, who won it with the 1964 Cardinals and the 1967 Cardinals, Sandy Koufax, who won it with the 63 Dodgers and the 65 Dodgers, Reggie Jackson, who won it with the 1973 Oakland Athletics and the 1977 New York Yankees. And then Corey Seager, of course, becomes that 4th, won it in 2020 with the Dodgers in the COVID year, and now in 2023 with the Rangers. He is the first player to win it in both the AL and the NL, obviously with the Dodgers in the NL. And he's the second after Reggie Jackson to win it with 2 different teams, as Gibson and Koufax both won it with the Cardinals and Dodgers, while Jackson won one with the A's and one with the Yankees. So there you go. Corey Seager, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 6 runs. He had quite the postseason. Obviously, the biggest at-bat was in Game 1, the game-tying 2-run home run for him. And it was just impressive to see. So congratulations to Corey Seager. What a job he's done this postseason for the Rangers. Now let's mention the great Bruce Bochy. He retired with the Giants. He was sitting on a recliner when they said, "Hey, Bochy, do you want to come manage these Texas Rangers?" And he said absolutely, and he came back off retirement and he wins his 4th World Series. He obviously won it in 2010, 12, and 14, all with the Giants. He becomes only the 6th manager to win at least 4 World Series, and it's the first time someone's won it with multiple teams, as he's won it now with the Giants and the Rangers. And, Bochy is one of the greatest managers of baseball history, and this just goes to show it. So congratulations to Bruce Bochy. What a series he had, what a season. The Texas Rangers as a whole, what a season they had, going from being the team in the AL West with the most games. They held the division for so long, only to get overthrown by the Mariners and the Astros. They end up losing the division on the last day of the season to the Astros, and then instead of having a bye in the wild card round, have to play in that series. And what a series they had. Their journey to the World Series, they swept the Rays. They then swept Baltimore. So remember how the whole season we're talking about these two AL East teams, the juggernauts, the Rays and Baltimore Orioles, with 100 wins each. Both of them get swept by the Rangers. They then go to Houston, the big brothers. The AL West comes down to this. The whole, the AL comes down to this. The juggernaut of the Astros, a team that's made it to the championship series in 7 straight years. And, the Rangers take the first 2 games on the road. They then get swept at home, losing 3 straight, and then come back to take Game 6 and Game 7 and head to the World Series, where they then beat the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the Rangers were 11-0 on the road. They were 11-0 when scoring first, which means that they were 2-4 at home and 2-4 when not scoring first. So not the best home record to show, but hey, when you're 11-0 on the road, you get to win your games, and that's what Texas needed to do. So congratulations once again to the Texas Rangers. What a journey. Remember 2 years ago, after that 100-loss season, they go out, they go sign Corey Seager to a 10-year, $325 million deal. They go out and they get Semien on a 7-year, $175 million deal. This year, even though he didn't pitch much at all, Jacob deGrom, remember, he is a Texas Ranger. They signed him to a 5-year, $185 million deal. They go out, they traded for Scherzer, they traded for Montgomery, they signed Eovaldi at the start of the year. How about John Gray? The team has come together. The young kids, Josh Young, the expected prospect, and could have been Rookie of the Year had he not got injured for, nearly 2 months. Evan Carter, the savior, as Max Scherzer called him, he got called up in September and pretty much turned the struggling Texas Rangers back into the competing Texas Rangers, because we were talking about at the beginning of September how Texas might be the team missing the postseason if Seattle and Houston stayed on course, if the Blue Jays stayed on course. It definitely could have been Texas, and now here we are, Texas winning the World Series, going around the Diamond. Adolis Garcia, what a series he had, what a season in total. Larry Tavares, how about the catchers, Jonah Heim, Mitch Garver, that back-end rotation, the back-end bullpen, Aroldis Chapman they traded for early, Jose Leclerc. How about Josh Sborz? He was having a great postseason, only gave up 1 run in 13 innings. He was dominant for Texas. No matter the way you look at it, 1 through 26, this Texas team was elite. They are great, and a lot of those pieces are sticking around for a couple years to come now. Garcia is not going anywhere. Seager and Semien not going anywhere. Scherzer is going to be there next year. DeGrom's going to be there next year, and if they both stay healthy, that is an elite punch of 1-2. Eovaldi is still there. Young and Carter are going to be there for a long time. Evan Carter, whatever role he played. Nathaniel Lau is still around. Jonah Heim. That team is going to be very similar coming in next year. So we'll see what Texas can do in 2024. But hey, in 2023, they're the World Series champions. So congrats to Texas. All right, now I just want to mention a couple of fun facts that we saw throughout these World Series, and more importantly towards the end here. So going through the Texas Rangers roster, the 5 guys that I saw that have now multiple World Series rings: Corey Seager wins his second, Aroldis Chapman wins his second, Nathan Eovaldi wins his second, Max Scherzer wins his second, and Will Smith, the relief pitcher, wins his third in a row. That's right, Will Smith, the first time in major sports history, so MLB, NHL, NFL, NBA, Will Smith has three-peated as the World Series champion 3 straight years. In 2021, he was with the Braves when they won the World Series. Last year, he was with the Astros. And now this year, he was with the Rangers. And I mean, it's pretty impressive when you think about it. Going with the Braves in the World Series, he pitched in 4 games, 4 innings, didn't give up a run. So good stuff there from Will Smith. Last year with the Astros, 2022, he got traded from the Braves to the Astros midway through that season. He didn't pitch in the World Series. He wasn't on the roster in the Division Series or the Championship Series. He was placed on the roster in the World Series, but he did not pitch, and he comes away with the ring. And then with the Rangers, he didn't pitch in the wild card, but pitched in all 3 series against the Baltimore Orioles in Division Series, the Astros, and the Diamondbacks as well. He pitched 2 games in the Diamondback series, pitched an inning in the 3rd, gave up 2 runs. But yeah, Will Smith, what history for him, three-peated as a World Series champion. So whichever team signs him this offseason might be a World Series champion next year. Aroldis Chapman, he's been on the teams that had ended 2 of the longest World Series droughts in the history. Obviously, he was on the Cubs team in 2016. They won that year and ended a 108-year drought. And now in 2023 with the Rangers, a 62-year drought has ended. Texas has their franchise's first World Series. How about Marcus Semien? This is a guy that you wanted on your team because he mans the position down every single game. This year, the Texas Rangers played 179 games, regular season and postseason combined. Marcus Semien played in all 179 games. That's what you want. Dependable, reliable Marcus Semien. He had a slow postseason, but definitely caught it on the end. 2 home runs in the last 3 games there, including the 2-run home run that cemented the Rangers as the World Series champions. So those were some fun facts that I saw throughout here, and that's going to pretty much wrap up the World Series. Texas Rangers, once again, congratulations to you guys. So now that begs the question, what happens to the middle of the order? I know everybody's wondering, but guess what? I'm not going anywhere. We still have plenty to talk about with the offseason around the corner. We're actually already in the offseason technically. We're probably going to go, a lot's going to change here in the coming weeks and days. I'm going to try to stick it to 1 episode a week. Obviously, when big news happens, I will try to get the episode up the next day. It'll be very sporadic. I don't really have a schedule for it yet. I'm not sure if I will end up with a schedule. I will say that the next episode will be on Wednesday. I will be talking about some of the off-season news that we already have. I can already mention things like Max Muncy. He signed a 2-year extension with the Dodgers for $24 million. Whit Merrifield and the Blue Jays both mutually declined their options. So Merrifield is a free agent as expected. And then Jorge Soler with the Marlins, he has opted out of his deal. He will be a free agent. So right now, in this current period of time, we are doing exclusive negotiations. So any team that has a free agent player looming, they're allowed to try to sign them to an extension right now before they are allowed to talk to other teams. Qualifying offers will be giving out. All this will happen, from now until I believe Monday or Tuesday is when it starts officially. So Wednesday I'll have the episode. We'll go over any major news, the qualifying offers, if anyone receives them, if anyone, we'll do that kind of stuff there. And then, we'll be talking about everything. The off season, we'll talk about some rumors. We'll talk about, some parts of this season. I want to mention the Paul Sewell trade. I think that's a huge turning point in the season for 2 different teams. I'd like to, we're going to be talking about the awards. We're going to have those nominations coming up shortly for Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, MVP, Cy Young, Reliever of the Year. So all that good stuff. We'll take a look at the Gold Gloves, the Silver Sluggers. Both of those have already been nominated. And by Wednesday, I believe the Gold Gloves will have already been given out. So there's a lot still to do, and I plan on doing all of it. So we're not going anywhere. Episodes will be not shorter, but less time apart, or more time apart from each other. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there that the middle of the order will still be recording episodes. We'll still be here all throughout the postseason, the off season. Talking about news. We'll take a look at some of the top free agents as well. So we've got episodes still to do, and there's still a lot to come upon. And then obviously that will go up until spring training and eventually the 2024 regular season. So we will be back. But yeah, this is officially kind of the end of the 2023 season. I want to thank you all for joining me on this ride, whether this is the first episode you're listening to or if you listen to all 63 episodes. I appreciate you all very much. Thank you for joining me on this ride. Feel free to subscribe. Turn on the notification, whether you listen on Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube. It will help me out a ton, especially with these episodes not having a straight schedule going forward. That way you never miss a new episode. If you have any comments, if you want to, critique the way I've done the season so far, leave them in the comments. I would read all the comments. Because obviously, 2024, as much as it will be the same, it will also be different. I'm going to try to change it up a little bit, see what worked, see what didn't work, and it'll be new but different, but we have a long way to go before the 2024 season. So for now, thank you everybody so much for joining me on the 2023 journey. Enjoy the 2023 offseason. Enjoy the NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever you watch in the MLB offseason. Thank you all so much, and I will see you guys to talk about off season on Wednesday.